September 22nd, 1944. The morning air hangs cold over the courtyard of Forte Brevetta prison in Rome. The ground is damp, the silence heavy. A squad of Italian soldiers stands in formation, rifles ready. In front of them, a single man, hands bound, coat stripped away. Pietro Caruso, former chief of police of Rome under Mussolini's fascist regime. He once commanded these same uniforms with absolute authority. He ordered arrests, interrogations, executions. Now, no one speaks his name aloud. A signal is given. The soldiers raise their rifles. Fuoco! The gunfire breaks the silence. Caruso collapses instantly. No words, no ceremony. The same system he served delivers his end. For months, Rome had waited for this moment. The man who helped orchestrate one of the worst massacres in Italy's wartime history was finally dead. Pietro Caruso was born into the world that fascism built a world of loyalty, order, and violence. In Mussolini's Italy, obedience was the highest virtue, and Caruso rose by showing plenty of it. He began as a career policeman, a man of procedure and ambition. Each arrest, each report, each act of repression pushed him higher through the ranks. His allegiance was never in question. He swore by Mussolini's name and treated dissent as treason. By the early 1940s, Caruso had become a powerful figure within the state's security apparatus. His reputation was one of control and efficiency, a man who got things done, no matter the cost. When the fascist regime collapsed in 1943 and Nazi forces occupied Italy, Caruso adapted quickly. Loyalty shifted from Rome to Berlin. He pledged himself to the Italian Social Republic, Mussolini's puppet government, and accepted his new position as chief of police of Rome. It was not a demotion. It was an opportunity to serve a new master and preserve his authority under Nazi rule. By late 1943, Rome was a city under siege from within. German patrols filled the streets. Resistance groups carried out bombings, assassinations, and sabotage. Civilians whispered of liberation, but few dared speak it aloud. Caruso's job was to crush the unrest. He didn't just cooperate with the Gestapo, he worked alongside them. His closest ally was SS officer Herbert Kappler, the man in charge of German security operations in Rome. Together, they built a system of fear. Arrests were carried out at night. Suspected partisans vanished into prison cells beneath police headquarters on Via Tasso. Torture rooms echoed through the stone walls. Families were left waiting at home for doors that would never open again. Caruso signed the papers. Kappler issued the orders. Between them, Rome became a city of informants, betrayals, and executions. The line between Italian fascist and German occupier disappeared. Both wore the same expression: calm, bureaucratic, merciless. March 23, 1944. Via Rasella, in the center of Rome. A group of Italian partisans detonated a bomb that tore through a column of German police. 33 soldiers were killed, their bodies scattered across the cobblestones. The response was immediate and absolute. Hitler demanded vengeance. His command was clear: 10 Italians for every German killed. The order came down through Kappler. The Gestapo began assembling lists of prisoners. Political detainees, resistance members, Jewish civilians, anyone in custody who could fill the quota. Pietro Caruso joined in without hesitation. His office became a factory of death lists. He signed names, verified prisoners, coordinated with the German command. To him, it was routine work, paperwork, in service of security. The chosen site was an old quarry on the outskirts of the city, the Ardeatine Caves. Remote, silent, hidden by earth and stone. On March 24th, the trucks began arriving. Prisoners were loaded in groups of 5, hands tied, mouths sealed. Inside the caves, the executioners worked methodically. Each victim was forced to kneel. Each was shot once in the back of the neck. Kappler supervised. Caruso ensured the process ran smoothly. The count exceeded orders. 335 were executed, 5 more than required. The bodies were piled atop one another, in layers. When the last shot echoed through the caves, the Germans sealed the entrance with explosives. Rome remained silent. Families searched the prisons, the hospitals, the streets, unaware their sons, husbands, and fathers were entombed beneath the rock. The massacre stayed hidden for months. When Allied forces liberated the city and the caves were uncovered, the air inside was heavy with decay. Bodies lay stacked in the dark, faces frozen in shock. Among the papers, the signatures were clear: Herbert Kepler and Pietro Caruso. June 1944, Rome was liberated. German forces retreated north, leaving behind collaborators to face the reckoning. Caruso tried to escape. He changed clothes, abandoned his office, and hid among the ruins of his former empire. But his name was too well known. The partisans who once feared his police now hunted him. They found him, beaten and exhausted, hiding in plain sight. Captured and dragged through the streets he once patrolled, Caruso was handed over to the new Italian authorities. The city that once trembled at his orders now wanted only his trial. The military tribunal convened within weeks. Witnesses crowded the courtroom: survivors, journalists, officers who had once served under him. They came not for vengeance, but for confirmation that justice still existed in a city that had seen too much death. The evidence was undeniable. Documents bore his approval for arrests and deportations. Testimonies described his cruelty during interrogations. His link to the Ardeatine Massacre was direct and documented. Caruso showed no remorse. He stood upright, composed, answering questions with the same cold precision that once defined his police reports. When asked about the massacre, he called it a necessary operation. The judges called it murder. After days of testimony, the verdict was read: death by firing squad. There would be no appeals, no delay. At dawn, soldiers escorted him into the courtyard of Forte Brevetta. The same city he once ruled stood quiet beyond the prison walls. There were no speeches, no farewell, only orders and silence. Caruso stood straight, eyes forward. The officer gave the signal. The rifles cracked in unison. The body fell backward, dust rising from the ground. The man who once served the Gestapo died by the hand of his own people. For the families of the 335 victims, it was not justice, but it was an ending. The fall of Pietro Caruso was more than a punishment. It was a symbolic dismantling of fascist power in the capital.